Testing, testing. JB here. Hope everybody's doing outstanding. April 1st, 2024. If anybody just saw the news, VKTX was acquired by Gilead. Just joking. April Fools. Not that funny. I remember I did a practical joke. Or it wasn't a practical joke. I actually posted on FinTwit. I used to be very bullish Yelp. And before that, I was bullish a name called Open Table, which was acquired by the Priceline Group, or now it's Bookings.com. So I took the press release from the Wall Street Journal and the headline, and I photoshopped it to say Yelp was acquired, and that was my April Fool's joke. And I think some people almost had a heart attack. So I'll try not to do that today, but I'm gonna be really quick here. It's about 3:10. We got about 50 minutes to the close. An annoying opening session to the second quarter. Markets sold off a little bit at the open. Well, they were actually in the green overnight, faded. Then we had PMI data at about 10 o'clock, and that kind of accelerated things to the downside, despite the fact that the PMI data was stronger. I think it was one of the stronger reads in quite some time. And hit the lows at 12, chopped around from 12 till about now. And now maybe we found some footing. We can, I don't know, SPY will take his little last minute surge, and we can close flat on the day. So the bad thing with that is it kills premium. It's not a good day to have a chop, but rather today than Friday, right? Hopefully we get some direction. I put it on the watch list this morning, the lows and the highs from last week. I think it's 518 and change and 524 and change. Those look like a channel, a nice little channel there. We can hold between that, and maybe we can set up for more highs. I'm not sure this week, but maybe next week before the start of earnings season, which kicks off on Friday. JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo all report next Friday. So that's the fun stuff. A couple names, and first I guess I'll start with TERN. Right in the afternoon, around 3:30 or so, Market Watch came out with a bullish piece on TERN, pretty much saying this small cap stock is expected to take off, and then a little hyphen if they're phased, if its weight loss pill succeeds. Which meanwhile, it's still early stage, phase one. So for it to succeed, you're talking years out on the horizon. It's not even, if they have positive phase one data, it's not like they're going to go and try and get FDA approval. So it's kind of a headline that I guess will get clicks. But the real story for me with TERN is that it has a possible oral GLP-1 solution. And if there is positive data, which is due at this back half of 2024, the stock will go bonkers. But I think on the flip side, you have all these other names in the space, and I keep saying it every rant, that at some point there's going to be some M&A, and I think it's going to buoy some of these smaller cap names, especially TERN, GPCR, and even Altimmune. So hopefully it can get over, and drop back into under 680 just a little while ago. Now it's back into 715s. I'll take a 7+ close and then work its way up to double digits in the coming weeks. And I may look for some further out strikes on TERN, because I think at some point it's going to head into double digits and then 15 or so, if not higher. You take a look at all the analysts. I'm not saying the analysts are the be-all, end-all for where stock goes, but all the analyst price targets are at least 100% over where it's trading right now. 15, 16, 18, there's one at 20. So if you hear me continue to talk about it's TERNs Pharmaceuticals, that's why I continue to be bullish on it. So that's TERNs. DELL, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So hopefully it's not a shame on me situation with DELL. I should have went and got the April 30s last week, although they were 85 by 95 when I was looking at them anyway. So I really can't fault myself. But at the same token I was talking about last week, I think DELL's going to come up and tap that 131 handle that it hit post earnings, the day after its earnings. So also you have a tight Bollinger Band set up. I can post it here. I'm a big fan of Bollinger Bands. If you don't know, Bollinger Bands, to me, they provide support and resistance. So you don't want to get too overbought, or if that happens, or if we have a huge move to the upside, typically stocks go over the upper Bollinger Band, but it usually doesn't last for that long. So it's kind of like a rubber band. Same on the downside with big sell-off. Bollinger Bands usually point to at least some area of possible support. When they get tight, meaning they're very close together, that means it's a tug of war, meaning that the stock hasn't moved too much to the upside or downside for quite some time, and it's consolidated, and it's a tug of war. And then one of these days, either the bulls or the bears are going to get tired, and that tug of war is going to end with a big breakout. And typically, tight Bollinger Bands precede big moves, Of course, I'm biased on Dell to the upside, so I think it's headed up to 130 in a short period of time. Have plenty of time on the calls, which is why I went and got such a later dated strike. But I think it's a great play in sympathy with SMCI. It hasn't moved anywhere near what MCI has done, which, I mean, MCI is a monster growth story right now. But even if Dell just gets back a little bit more into the growth area, it trades 1 times revenues. It's one of those names that just could, maybe it gets 140, 150. So that's kind of what my thought process there in Dell. And I'm not sure if I'll add anything else just yet, but if it starts, maybe gets into the 120s, I might look for some spec calls. That's Dell. CGC, and I've said this last week as well. I mean, the stock's up 100 and whatever percent in the last 10 trading sessions. There's been some pullbacks. It's pretty much given back some of the gains from, where did we open? Last week, I think we opened at 8, right? So it's right down. So this, you got Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. So we had the big sell-off last Tuesday. Stock gapped up into the 9s, opened at 8, and then sold off. I think it was like 30%. Then the next day it rallied. The day after that it rallied. And then Friday and Thursday and today, it's reversing course. To me, if you take a look at the longer date, you look at the daily chart, it doesn't look that bad. I hate seeing it down, 15% or so, but I think it's going to continue to be a bumpy ride. I think it heads into the teens again, over 10, and then maybe 15, 16, and possibly 17, 18 a couple months from now. This morning there was their transfer. I don't even know what firm came out and advised shareholders to vote. I don't know if it's dilution, but I guess Canopy's spinning off their Canopy USA unit, something like that. I don't know, to fit with regulations in the USA. I don't know if has something to do with some of the pressure, but small caps are selling off today, so it's probably fallen a little bit in sympathy with that. But I'm still bullish CGC. Even I hate to say it go down to $6. I would still be somewhat bullish there, and I'm not sure if I would add. I would wait for the dust to settle, but 550 is the 200-day moving average. That's maybe where I would throw the cards in, but I don't think it's going to head down there. So if you see it fall, sometimes you just gotta fight. I fight the urge. I've already locked a lot of profits in, so I'm just going to hold what I have left. My freebies, the May 15s, I have the April 10s, and then I look for other strikes to play for upside. If it holds its ground here, maybe it's going to be a reversal tomorrow. That's CGC. Cardlytics, just chopping around here. It's a boring session. I kind of missed last week because we had nice volatility, nice volume. I'm not sure if it's going to need a catalyst to get back over $20. I hope not. There was a filing that came out over the weekend. Well, actually, I don't know if it was on Friday. Clifford Sozen was part of the offering, the convertible note offering. So Cardlytics, the big reason, sold off 35% or so last week. One of the days was the convertible note announcement. 150 million, and I think it was allowed to be upsized. I think another 25 million or so. But Clifford Sozen filed because he's a beneficial owner of the stock. He has over 5% ownership. He has actually a 14.4% stake in the company. He took 20 million of that offering, and if you look at the conversion, it looks like it's $18.80 conversion rate for the shares, which really is not a lot of risk for the company. Typically, it's usually conversion's much higher, but again, just another 20 million he's putting his confidence in, convicted in the name. I still think it heads higher in the coming weeks. I'll just hold what I have for now. As we maybe the next couple of days, if it starts to go, I'll look again for some May strikes. But really love that story. Some other stats. So I always like historicals. So over the weekend is a great time to read some of these historical things that have gone on with the market, especially so far this year, right? This first quarter has been the best performance for the S&P for a first quarter since 2019. So the best performance in 5 years. And then you start looking, it is the smallest drawdown for the S&P in history. So I don't know if so I guess up to this point, but the smallest drawdown in history for a year was 2.5%, meaning the S&P didn't fall more than 2.5% from its highs, which is pretty remarkable. Right now, it's only 1.7%. So, last week, and I put it on the watch list this morning, and at the end of last week, about the tight range the market's been trading in, it's been extremely tight. What was it, 0.17% last week, one day, 0.2% the next day until the big sell-off at the end of the day. So typically, when you have these tight ranges on an index like that, and lack of volatility, I think that just bodes well for more upside. So obviously today doesn't, it stills a little bit of concern. You see yields rising, you see the U.S. dollar soaring. So I guess that's some ammo people could use to say, hey, this is the top. We've had a huge monster move from the fall lows. Maybe, right? But I think you can make a case for both sides. My concern would be the small caps today. And the small caps, after showing some signs last week, down nearly 8.85, almost 1% today. So maybe that's just a little pullback, and then we start to head to the upside. But yeah, I would really like to see small caps start to find some footing. And then last but not least, you see the chatter. People are starting to pare back expectations for the June Fed meeting. At points, it was up near 60% that there was going to be a rate cut. Now it's under 50%. So I have to think it's once we start getting to June, the odds of a rate cut are going to go down to like a 25% or so. And I don't think they're going to cut rates in June. I think it's going to be further out meetings. But the market's still holding up pretty well. I'm trying to think of some other things here. GPCR is just hanging here. That's probably going to need a kick. Added those Altimmune calls at the end of the week. It's got a 23.5% short interest, again, similar to the story with TERN. They announced earnings last Thursday, and it seemed like the bears, because there's who is it? The same guy who's doing MicroStrategy. How come I can't remember the name right now? I'm having my normal end of day brain farts. What's his name again? Come on. No. Okay. Sorry. Oh yeah, DELL Capital. So I mean that guy, and I said it on the rants last week. Short Tilray, short AI, short Altimmune, and then comes out short MSTR, which I said it last week too. It's like getting in front of a Mack truck, right? I mean this thing moves hundreds of dollars every day swings. Up 100, down 200, down 100, up 300. So, I mean, to me, it's like you're playing with fire when you try and get ahead of some of these things. And you had Citron Research back in the day too. He did the same thing with MSTR, and you can see it's up 1,000% since he started to try and short it. So, but needless to say, he was short DELL Capital, short Altimmune. Who knows if he covered? He claimed he didn't. But they had that earnings report Thursday morning. The stock went all the way down to $5. Right after the earnings came out, almost like they're just trying to incite sellers, right? And then it just bounced and then reversed, and then it closed up nearly 10%. The next day was up 15%. Hopefully, you can find some footing here today. Closing the green, went all the way up to 11. I think that heads up to $15 in the coming weeks. They also announced an update, and I talked about this last week as well. Their GLP-1 drug is focused around lean mass. So they're claiming a lot of these GLP-1 drugs not only get rid of the bad stuff, but also get rid of the good stuff. So they have data that points that their drug doesn't reduce lean mass. I don't know if that's a benefit, but at the end of the day, I think there's a big enough market for all these companies. Some of these big cap names still don't have their hand in the GLP-1 space. It's just a matter of time before there's more M&A. Oh, and then last is IIPR. So it seems like when you take a look at the ETF, I usually, not that I follow SRS, but SRS is a reverse real estate ETF, two-time bear ETF. It's up nearly 4%. Is it 4% today? 3% today. So then when I see it up 3%, that means there's real estate names down. And typically there's a lot of REITs in the SRS, which Simon Property Group or the SPG. I don't know if EQIX is in there, but EQIX is down nearly 3% today. And then there's IIPR as a REIT. I don't think they're in the SRS, but I think some of the selling today, it's down 2%. I think 50% is the selling in some of the cannabis names, and then the other 50% is the sell-off in other REITs and the small caps. So I think I still like IIPR. I don't know how many days in a row it was to the upside. This is the second day in a red. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was up 9 days in a row until Thursday. So hopefully it holds 101 or so, and then it can find some footing, start heading to the upside in the coming days. And that's it. That's my rant for today. Let's hopefully have a great week. Again, I'm hoping one of these after-hour sessions or pre-market, VKTX or one of these other GLP names are finally going to be halted. There'll be some kind of M&A, hopefully for a substantial premium, and that'll lift all the boats. and it'll be a fun day. And I'm hoping that happens soon. Let's have a great day, folks. Rock and roll.